The stage lights gleamed like distant stars, blinding and beautiful all at once. A hush fell over the crowd as a young Filipino boy stepped nervously into the spotlight barefoot, his small hands wrapped tightly around an old, weather-beaten guitar. His clothes were simple, slightly oversized, and his eyes carried both fear and quiet determination. Every step he took echoed across the vast stage, the sound of his bare feet on the polished floor whispering of a life far away from glamour. Whispers rippled through the audience. Some tilted their heads, murmuring with curiosity, others exchanged doubtful glances, unsure of what to expect from the shy boy who looked too young, too fragile, to command such a grand stage. One of the judges leaned forward, her expression softening as she saw his trembling hands. "What will you sing, son?" she asked gently, her voice warm and reassuring. The boy swallowed hard, his throat dry. He looked down for a moment, then up again, his eyes shining under the stage lights. "Hotel California, for my late father," he replied in a voice so quiet, it felt like a prayer. The audience grew completely still. Even the cameras seemed to pause. For a heartbeat, the entire hall held its breath with him. He adjusted the strap of his guitar, took a shaky breath, and closed his eyes. The first soft strum of his guitar broke the silence, imperfect, yet full of feeling. As the melody of Hotel California began to fill the air, something changed. The doubt in the crowd melted into awe. The spotlight warned him, the stage no longer felt so big, and though his voice trembled, his heart sang for the one person who could no longer hear him. The boy's fingers hovered above the strings for a moment, shaking with nerves. The hall was silent, filled with the heavy anticipation of 1,000 eyes watching him. Then, with a deep breath, he strummed the first chord, soft, unsteady, yet carrying a tenderness that silenced even the whispers in the back rows. The sound wasn't perfect, but it was real, raw, soulful, and alive. The camera zoomed in on his trembling hands, capturing every detail, the calluses on his fingertips, the chipped edge of his guitar, and the faint quiver in his wrist. You could almost feel the weight of every moment he had practiced alone, every dream he had dared to believe in. As he began to sing, his voice cracked slightly, fragile, uncertain, but with each note, it grew steadier, fuller, stronger. The melody of Hotel California floated through the air like a memory reborn. It wasn't just a song anymore, it was his story, his pain, his love for a father who was gone but somehow still present in every word he sang. Slowly, the audience began to change. People who had come to be entertained were now moved to silence. You could see them leaning forward, captivated by the purity of his voice, the kind of emotion that couldn't be taught, only felt. One of the judges, a woman known for her tough critiques, blinked. Halfway through the song, just as the guitar's melody softened into the next verse, the boy's voice suddenly cracked. The note faltered, trembling in the air before fading into silence. His fingers froze on the strings. For a few seconds, time seemed to stop. His eyes glistened under the bright lights as he stared down at the floor, fighting the rush of emotion swelling in his chest. He wasn't just forgetting lyrics or losing rhythm, he was remembering. In that instant, he saw his father's face, smiling, proud, sitting beside him during those late nights when they'd sing together under the flicker of a single bulb. The pain of that memory, the emptiness of not seeing him in the audience, hit him like a wave. His lips quivered. A tear rolled down, landing softly on the body of his old guitar. The audience could feel his heartbreak. The silence that followed wasn't awkward, it was sacred. Then, slowly, a sound began to rise from the darkness of the crowd, a soft clap. Then another. Soon, the entire audience was clapping together, a rhythm of encouragement echoing through the hall. The sound grew louder, stronger, warmer, a collective heartbeat telling him, "You can do this." The boy lifted his head, his chest rising with a deep breath. He blinked away his tears and gripped his guitar tighter. Then, with renewed strength, he began again. This time his voice was different, deeper, braver, overflowing with emotion. Each note carried love, loss, and courage. The hall filled with his song once more, but now it wasn't just music, it was a cry from the soul. The audience swayed, some wiping their eyes, as his voice soared higher than before, turning pain into something beautiful. As the final note floated through the air, trembling and pure, the boy let it linger, a single echo of his heart hanging in the vast silence of the hall. His fingers slowly lifted from the strings, and for a breathless moment, there was nothing but stillness. The light shimmered softly around him, and he stood frozen, unsure if he had done enough, if anyone had truly heard him. Then, suddenly, the silence shattered. The audience erupted in thunderous applause, a wave of cheers, whistles, and clapping that shook the stage beneath his bare feet. People were on their feet, shouting, crying, celebrating. The sound filled the room like a storm of love and awe. The boy blinked, startled, his chest rising and falling rapidly. He looked out at the sea of faces, all standing for him, and for the first time that night, a small, disbelieving smile crept across his face. His hands trembled, but not from fear anymore. The judges rose, one by one. The camera panned across them, each expression full of emotion. One judge covered her mouth with both hands, tears spilling freely as she shook her head in amazement. Another, known for being stern and critical, leaned forward toward the microphone, his voice soft but steady. "That," he said, pausing to find the right words, "that." The applause still thundered through the hall when one of the judges, the same one who had been crying moments ago, suddenly rose from her seat. The crowd noticed, and a hush fell once more, as if everyone sensed something extraordinary was about to happen. Her eyes were red, glistening with tears, but her smile was full of warmth and pride. Slowly, she stepped away from the judges' table and began walking toward the center of the stage. The boy stood frozen, clutching his old guitar tightly against his chest. His breath came in short bursts, his mind unable to process what was happening. The judge stopped just a few feet away from him, her voice trembling slightly as she spoke into the microphone. "You reminded us," she began, pausing to hold back tears, "what real music feels like. It's not about fame or perfection, it's about heart. And tonight, you sang with your soul." The audience gasped, some already cheering through their tears. The judge turned, looked back at her fellow judges, and with a deep breath slammed her palm down on the golden buzzer. A blinding golden light burst across the stage. The familiar sound cue echoed through the hall as golden confetti rained from above, shimmering under the spotlights like falling stars. The boy dropped to his knees, overwhelmed, tears streaming down his face. He looked up, mouth open in disbelief, as the judge rushed forward and embraced him tightly. The audience rose once more, this time louder than ever. Their chant grew in unison, filling every corner of the arena, "Filipino dream! Filipino dream!" In that moment, the barefoot boy with the worn-out guitar had done the impossible. He had turned his pain into magic, and the world was listening.